So based off some of the comments that I've had in the comment section, as well as some messages on my Instagram and private messages I've received, people are interested in knowing how I use analog synthesizers to create music for film, be it a short film, a feature film, etc. And in the past, I've showcased works from completed projects, but I want to do something a little different. I was actually working on a short film today, and I felt really inspired to make this video. And so I'm just going to show the methodology and my process behind creating the score for a work in progress. Now, because the film isn't completed, I can't show the footage, but I can let you listen to the music. And I'm going to talk through some of my methodology about how I created this music for this scene in particular. So let's jump on in. So I wanted to show what this Minimoog sound sounded like, kind of break it down. It's 3-voice monophonic, so only plays one note. It sounds one note when you play it, as opposed to a polysynth, which plays more than one note. First off, I'm running oscillator 1 at 32, which is where my foot's at, and I'm playing it with the sawtooth, and I have the cutoff relatively low. And the second note that I'm doing is oscillator 2. It's the same note, but instead of a saw, I'm doing a triangle. And for oscillator 3, so oscillator 2, this is what this one sounds like. Here it's a little flat as opposed to the first one, because I want them to be a little out of tune to create kind of a chorus sound. And oscillator 3 is the same note, but 3 octaves higher. So altogether, that's what it sounds like to create this one kind of sound. And as the cue develops, which you'll hear in a little bit, I manipulate the filter, and then I'm also doing something really fun where I'm controlling the mod wheel, and I'm running that into the LFO. So it's creating this kind of tension sound. So right off the gate, let's talk about what this instrument is. It's also a monophonic instrument, and it has 2 oscillators instead of 3, like the Minimoog. Oscillator 1 is running a saw, and oscillator 2 is running a triangle. But this one is interesting because I'm manipulating lots of things at one time. Oscillator 1 sounds like this. And now oscillator 2 is the same thing, underpitched. Now, the next thing I did to this piece in particular was I started manipulating the frequency of the modulation generator. And what that did was that it's kind of hard to do, which is why I wanted to try option 2, which I'll show you in a minute. But this one's fun. So the melody for this one is option 2. I didn't really like the attack sound. I wanted it to be very smooth. So I essentially put everything to the pitch wheel. So I patch it in. And you have to find, so I want to go up the, so this is more like kind of playing like a trombone or something like that, whereas you have to use your hands to kind of find the right pitch. So I'm only controlling it with essentially one hand, so you can overshoot it. But when I go all the way up, the top of the pitch wheel is hitting the note that I want to hit. The only downside about this is that you can't get all of the fun frequency sounds because I'm not triggering the modulation generator. So option one's fun because it has that modulation generator sound, and it just has a lot of a fun character to it, and it creates a lot of tension with that because there's not percussion in this cue, so I wanted something to give it that sound, but I don't like re-triggering it. So option two is fun because I can glissando into it without making an attack, but I lose the envelope generator sound. So I may end up blending the two together. I'm not really sure yet. I'm still developing it, so we'll see. So first things first, we're going to listen to this cue, and then we're going to dissect it and talk about the pieces that I showed earlier and how they fit. So it starts off really minimal. There's not a lot going on. So there's some cluster sounds with the Minimoog, the microtonal things. There's the bass line that's got the oscillating LFO. And then there's some string sounds, piano, some analog string stuff. I'm still not 100% sure on those notes for the piano. There's that Minimoog, or there's the MS-20. There's a little glissando. And there's a pop in the audio that I gotta fix as well. So to kind of show the first section of it, what we kind of worked through in the example, this is what the bass is doing. Now it's tucked super low with everything else that's going on because it's just more or less building tension. But if I were to raise it, here's what the bass sounds like. So in this bass sound, like I said, there are three voices all blended together. And then as the piece develops, you can hear that I'm raising the mod wheel, and especially right here, you can really start to hear it. This is where it gets real gritty. Now I'm not 100% sure. I have this OB6 bass line that I really like. It's got some really big kind of, it sounds more like a kick than anything else, but I don't want it to be too competing with the frequencies, but I really like how this looks and sounds against the picture. So I may mess with that a little bit. I'm not 100% sure yet. And also over here, because this is kind of, it's building this intense scene, I wanted to have the bass line be doubled, but an octave lower. So in the lowest range of the Minimoog. And so essentially what I did is I just tracked it down an octave and relatively did as best as I could with the mod wheels. But yeah, it just kind of gives it more depth overall. And it was a pain in the butt to match up, but you know. So that's what's going on with that. If we listen to this section now, with the other elements going on, we have some strings, just some Spitfire and chamber strings, and then I have a piano, and this is a Labs plug-in sound. It's really nice. It's just kind of there to provide support. Super soft. It just undulates, kind of moving back and forth. That with the bass line, it just provides so much spectrum, sonic spectrum and range. And the piano is just there for kind of emotional support. Very sparse. And then what I really liked is this analog string sound. It creates this kind of like, I don't know. This is what it sounds like. I'm just essentially two notes back to back. There's the MIDI, if you want to see it. It's just kind of creating this pendulum sound that's really nice. It gives percussive sound without being percussion. Now, I typically like to use arpeggiators and things like that to kind of get some of those sounds, which I probably may add at some point. I'm just still, like I said, kind of developing it. So, like I said, the bass line that I created, this kind of main kind of bass sound that undulates and moves as the piece moves, is kind of the bedrock for this cue. If you notice, it continues through the whole 2.5 minutes. Now, the harmony may change a little bit, but it's very, very minimalistic in its approach. So the last thing I'm going to show is the MS-20 melody. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do with it. I may end up using the first option or the second, or, I don't know, I may throw it out completely. But this is the sound right now. And this is with the first option, where I'm running it through the envelope generator. And I'm increasing the amount, so it starts to get that wobble. And that's what it sounds like with the piece. And now the harmony is going to change over top of it. There. So if you notice, I start to slow it down as the piece ends, and then I also close the filter. So that was option one. Option two has got the version where I have I'm using the mod wheel. Here's what that sounds like. So notice how I bend into it, I go above the pitch and then I go back down. But there's no attack, it's all just one note. So if you notice like the waveform, you can see it's a solid waveform. And I bend back down. So it doesn't have as much of the attack, but it has just this kind of nice sound that I really dig. And I've overshot, or I undershot that pitch bend, so I'd have to retrack it. So this is more about tone and emotional, like the emotion that it evokes, as opposed to a jarring sound. So like I said, I'm not 100% sure. Tell me which one you like. Comment below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was informative to you. Just like I said, I wanted to show my methodology to how I score using analog synthesizers for film. There's no right or wrong way, and a lot of it is just trial and error and turning knobs and trying alternate recording techniques to find something that sounds cool and unique that sticks out to me. And some of these sounds might actually not end up making it in the film, but I wanted to show kind of just a daily kind of workflow for me. There are links above to previous videos I've done in case you've missed them. For the next video, we're actually going to do an unveiling of my new desk that I got. It's a sit-stand desk. But until then, please subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you all next time.